Welcome back, everyone, to another ranking video. This video, I'm going to be ranking Black Sabbath's studio albums. So, no compilations, no live stuff. All their studio albums with all their singers. Um, I think there's five lead singers off the top of my head. Ozzy, Dio, Ian Gillan, um, Glenn Hughes, Tony Martin. Yeah. So we're going to get into it. So, the last one, coming in last, I think everyone puts this at last. Forbidden, 1995 studio album featuring Tony Martin. Last to feature Tony Martin, and for some reason there's a guest appearance by Ice-T. Basically, when this album came out, there was rumors that the original lineup would really reunite. At the time, Tony Iommi was the only original member still in the band, so Geezer Butler, Bill Ward, and most importantly Ozzy Osbourne were supposed to reunite, and they did. A year later, they had a huge tour, did the Ozfest and all that. But yeah, really just not a good album, pretty boring. Next up, we have Tear. A very weird album for Sabbath. Again, features Tony Martin on vocals. It's like Norse mythology, although they claim it wasn't meant to be that. Tyr, I believe, is like the son of Odin. And, cool artwork. All the lyrics and song titles are all like reference Norse mythology. And I'm a fan of Tony Martin. I'm a fan of all Sabbath albums, so I do like to listen to it. But it's just not one of the first albums I go to. Next up, I don't know if people are going to be surprised by this or not. 13. This came out in 2013 when it came out that Ozzy and Black Sabbath, without Bill Ward, were reuniting to record an album. It was highly anticipated, obviously. You think, how could they make a bad album? I guess it's not necessarily bad, but in my opinion, it's just really boring. The songs are too long. They're very doomy and drawn out, and if you're really into that stuff, then this album is for you. But I understand the Sabbath did pretty much create doom metal, but this is just too doomy for me. Excuse me. Like I said, Bill Ward is not on this. It was replaced by Brad Wilk, who's an awesome drummer from Rage Against the Machine and Audio Slave. But yeah, coming in 13. Next up is this is Cross Purposes. This came out right before Forbidden. Not a bad album, not terrible. Always liked the artwork there, pretty cool. Again, featured, like I said, Tony Martin on vocals. And it's heavy. Came out in 94, so it didn't really, at the time, Sabbath had a hard time competing, especially in the metal in the 90s. Unless you were Pantera, you really didn't, you weren't that huge, until the new metal thing came out, but whatever. But, they had to compete with grunge and, a lot of they just didn't have it, especially going against Ozzy, the former lead singer. Next up, this is 1989 album, Headless Cross. Pretty heavy album, really good. Second to feature Tony Martin. Cozy Powell on drums. Again, Tony Iommi. And I believe, no. I was going to say Geezer Butler, but I think Geezer Butler's on Headless Cross. I'm sorry. Forbidden. Cross Purposes. But anyway, Headless Cross, pretty heavy album, really good. The Gates of Hell is a cool song. Devil and Daughter, the title track, Call of the Wild, Kill in the Spirit World. Yeah, just this whole album is just full of good songs. Next up, featuring Glenn Hughes on vocals. This is Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. 7-star. At the time, Tony Iommi was going to put out a solo album, and the record execs pretty much, went against it and said, you'll sell more albums with the title Black Sabbath. So that's the reason for the name Black Sabbath featuring Tony Iommi. Eric Singer is on drums, who now plays in Kiss. And like I said, Glenn Hughes on vocals. And just, I mean, Glenn Hughes is an amazing singer. And yeah, just a really good album. I like it a lot. I think it's very underrated. And unfortunately, Glenn Hughes had a lot of drug problems, and this lineup didn't last very long. Next up, we have the last album of the iconic lineup of the 70s. This is Never Say Die. Um, a lot of people don't like this album. I don't think it's terrible. Never Say Die is a good song. Johnny Blade's a good song. Junior's Eyes, The Hard Road, I like a lot. It's probably my favorite song off the album. But then it kind of just dies off on the second side. And Ozzy Osbourne himself has said he's embarrassed by this album and hates it. He said it's like the biggest piece of shit he ever made. um, Overall, I don't think it's terrible. I mean, I think it's Black Sabbath in the '70s. I was never just a fan of the album art. I just thought Sabbath had some really cool, demonic covers or whatever, and that this one just didn't do it for me. Especially during the '70s. There's two albums that I wasn't a big fan of the cover art. Next up, we have the reunion with Ronnie James Dio in 1992. This is Dehumanizer, and this is the deluxe edition. Comes with a live set. This did not last long on this lineup. Basically, Dio was brought in on vocals, and then Tony Martin was brought in late after Dio started writing some songs. But Tony Martin was at the time was recording a solo album, and he kind of just wanted to stick to his solo album. So, Dio wound up staying on this album. Cozy Powell was replaced on drums because he had some kind of surgery or accident. Of course, replaced by Vinny Appice. So this is basically the Mob Rules lineup, but a very, very heavy album. I off of here is one of my favorite Sabbath songs. After All the Dead is another great song, but I is just amazing. And but just overall for the Dio years in Sabbath, this is definitely the lowest of the three albums they did with them, not counting Heaven and Hell. Next up, the album I feel is very underrated. This is The Eternal Idol, first album they did with Tony Martin. The opening track, The Shining, was great. I love that. Another one of my favorite, probably my favorite Tony Martin era songs. Ancient Warrior, Hard Life to Live, Born to Lose, Lost Forever, and of course the title track. This is the deluxe expanded edition, and also features this disc here of the same songs featuring Ray Gillen on vocals, who was originally supposed to be the vocalist. And I can't remember exactly what happened, but they went with Tony Martin. I know Ray Gillen wasn't the nicest guy in the world, but yeah, it features basically every song that was originally recorded on the original album except for Scarlet Pimpernel. And speaking of Ray Gillen, if you want to check out a really good, cool album, Badlands, Ray Gillen is the lead singer, and Jakey Lee on lead guitar. Came out, after Jakey Lee left Ozzy's band or was fired or whatever. Next up, the other album art from the iconic Sabbath lineup that I wasn't a big fan of. It's Technical Ecstasy. I don't know really what's going on there. I guess they're 70s robots on an escalator. Are they shooting each other? Are they mating? Are they trading information? I don't know what's going on. But overall, I like the songs on here. Backstreet Kids, You Won't Change Me, It's Alright, featuring Bill Ward on vocals, is a great song. I love it. Guns N' Roses covered it. Gypsy, All Moving Parts Stand Still is one of my favorite songs on here. Rock and Roll Doctor's good, and Dirty Women is kind of like the minor hit off of this album. Very different for Sabbath, I feel, at the time. You could tell there was problems in the band with this album, creative differences, things like that. But yeah, it's still an album I listen to from start to finish, and I do love it. Next up, Born Again. A little glare there, but one of the coolest album covers, not only of Sabbath's career, but all time. Born Again was released in '83 after Ronnie James Dio left the band, and replaced by Ian Gillan from Deep Purple Mark II on vocals. And I'm drawing a blank. Yeah, Bill Ward. Bill Ward is, I feel like something like Bill Ward didn't play drums in here, or he didn't tour, or he left the band right after he was credited. I forget. There's something there with Bill Ward, but I can't remember. But this is a very heavy album, very thrashy. Trash, Stonehenge, Disturbing the Priest, Zero the Hero, and Digital Bitch actually had a music video. Didn't get a lot of play in the '80s, but I mean, Black Sabbath with the lead singer of Deep Purple, Ian Gillan. I mean, you can't go wrong. Yeah, but like I said, awesome album cover art. That is the UK Sanctuary remaster from '96, which sound amazing. Next up, a lot of people may hate me for this. I'm gonna have a lot of comments about this. Volume 4. Yeah, it's a great album. It's obviously a classic album. For me, it's just not as strong as the albums I put before it. I was never a huge fan of Changes. It's a good song, but Piano and About for Sabbath for me wasn't. I'm not huge on that. Effects wasn't necessary, but of course the opener, Wheels of Confusion, The Straightener, Tomorrow's Dream, Supernaut, and obviously Snowblind are amazing songs. Laguna Sunrise is cool. St. Vitus' Dance and Under the Sun, Every Day Comes and Goes. Heavily fueled by cocaine, or they actually thank the Coca-Cola Company of Los Angeles in the liner notes to this. And it's an interesting fact is this vinyl has liner notes, like pages, liner notes inside, but it's very rare to find one that still has them intact. So if you do see it, grab it, because it's worth a lot more than with the liner notes, obviously, than without it. Next we have The Mob Rules, Ronnie James Dio, Vinny Appice, produced by Martin Birch. Great follow-up to Heaven and Hell, not as strong as Heaven and Hell, but Turn Up the Night is great. Voodoo, Sign of the Southern Cross is such an epic song, it's great. E5150 is just a weird instrumental thing, do it out. Title track's cool, Country Girl, Falling Off the Edge of the World, and Over to close it out is just amazing. Really cool cover art. Again, I don't really know what's going on. Always remind me like they're like in a sword or some druids. There's a bloodstained sheet. Might have been a guillotine behind it. I don't know. Cool album art, even though it's kind of hard to see what it is. Next, we have Sabotage. Sabotage was named for basically the record company screwed them, sabotaged them, stole money from the band, and the cover art's iconic, although it's kind of goofy when you look at it. Ozzy's wearing a dress. Bill Ward's got these red latex spandex pants on. For a band that was so dark and heavy, he was wearing white pants. Tony's got jeans and a white t-shirt on. Excuse me. But whatever, it's a cool album. Super heavy. Hole in the Sky is great. Don't Start Too Late. Could do without that. Symptom of the Universe is amazing. Megalomania is great. Super Czar is really, really cool. Love that. Am I Going Insane? Radio is kind of a minor hit off of here also. And The Writ to close it out. Really good stuff. And a lot of people don't like this album. It's classic Sabbath. It's great. Next we have Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. Again, one of my favorite artworks. A lot of people are going to laugh at this, but as a kid, when I bought the Garage Incorporated CD from Metallica, they did the cover Sabbath Cadabra, which actually interpolated National Acrobat into it. And, I knew the song Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath from a compilation I had, the title track, which is one of Sabbath's heaviest songs, one of their best songs. A National Acrobat was next, which when I bought this album, I was like, oh, that's the other song that's included in Sabbath Cadabra. Fluff is an instrumental I can really do without. And again, like I just said, Sabbath Cadabra's on this. One of my all-time favorite songs. Of all time, not only by Black Sabbath. Killing Yourself to Live is great. Who Are You is amazing. Looking for Today is cool. And ended again with Spiral Architect. A lot of these albums just end with such an amazing song. And these original classic 70s albums, I didn't buy the remasters just because they mean so much to me. I've had them for so long, since I was a kid, and I just would hate to get rid of them and replace them with the remasters. None of the remasters probably sound better, but that's why I buy like the Ultimate Collection and compilations to hear stuff like that. Next up, This is Master of Reality. Some more glare there. Turn a little bit. This is loved by a lot of people, especially recently. It's called, one of the first stoner rock albums, one of the first doom albums. The reason it's not higher for me is even though I love Embryo, I don't like Orchid or Solitude. Those three tracks I feel like I could do without. With those three tracks, being said, Sweet Leaf, After Forever is great. Such a great intro to that. Children of the Grave is so heavy. Every time I listen to it, I can't believe, like, wow, that came out in 1971. Like, Joni Mitchell's Blue came out in 71. Like, you went from something that soft to something this hard and heavy. It was, haven't been heard before. So, yeah, I mean, Lordless World, amazing. And again, ends with Into the Void, another heavy, crazy song. It's just like, listen to this, and it's like, it came out in 1971. Like, it's unheard of. Like, how did they do that? How did they make this music so heavy in 1971? Next up, one of the greatest albums of all time, Heaven and Hell. So I gotta turn a little bit because the glare is terrible today. The first album they did with Ronnie James Dio, Bill Ward on drums, Geezer Butler on bass, and of course Tony Iommi on guitar. I think I said this already, but Tony Iommi was the only original member that stuck through on every single album. At the time, Ozzy was, fired or left, however you want to say it. And, you're one of the biggest bands in the world with, one of the, biggest singers of the world at the time. And, you get rid of them and you replace them with Ronnie James Dio, who just came from Rainbow, and before that, previously Elf. And, you pretty much blow away anything you did within the last couple of years with Ozzy. It's just amazing from start to finish. Neon Nights, Children of the Sea, Lady Evil, the title track, which is still my ringtone for years. I love it. Wishing Well, Die Young, Walk Away, Lonely is the World is the word. So excuse me. Just amazing, amazing album. Such cool artwork again. Definitely better than the last two albums they put out, which were Never Say Die and Techno Ecstasy. Before that, the cover art definitely kills all them. Just a 5-star album, Stone Cold classic. And speaking of Ozzy, he didn't do so bad himself, releasing Blizzard of Oz the same year. So, they both had a very, very successful year. Both put albums of the year, basically the two greatest albums of 1980, in my opinion. Next, we have Paranoid. I remember, going to Tower Records, grabbing this, and kind of talking down the price because the original CD was like marked down to $12.99, which was cheap back then for Tower Records. And this was the Sanctuary UK remaster made in England, and I just wanted this. So I actually, bribed my way to getting it for $12.99, and it just sounds great. What I liked about it has these cool liner notes, obviously the lyrics, the cool fold-out picture that was in the original vinyl. Paranoid, one of the greatest albums of all time. A lot of people hate the cover art. To me, it's just so iconic that I like it. It's goofy once you look at it, but it's also creepy. Like, it's a very dark forest or the woods or whatever, and I mean, this could be an apparition coming out looking like that. But if you look at it real quick, you can't really make out what it is. And I always loved the font. And just a great album. War Pigs never gets old for me. The title track, I've heard it so many times. Planet Caravan is a psychedelic song. But remember, this was released in October of 1970. And that being said, again, how do you rig something this heavy? Iron Man, another song I never get sick of. Electric Funeral. Probably the heaviest song I've ever heard when I first put that on, and I was like, wow, I was just blown away by that riff. It's so heavy, doomy, and amazing. Hand of Doom, great. References the Vietnam War. Rats Out, cool drum solo, which, reminds me of Moby Dick that Led Zeppelin did on Led Zeppelin 2. And ends with Fairies Wear Boots, another great, ending to an amazing album, iconic album. One of the greatest albums of all time, like I said. Coming to number 1, you probably figured it out. Their debut self-titled album, A lot of people probably wouldn't put this number one, but to me, this is the greatest heavy metal album of all time. This is the first heavy metal album of all time, in my opinion. I know Led Zeppelin was out before that. I know Deep Purple were. I knew Blue Cheer were. I know Steppenwolf said Heavy Metal Thunder. But this was the sound. The first two Zeppelin albums were nowhere near as heavy as the stuff they did on this. This is heavy. It's doomy. I mean, the title track for 1970 with the rain and thunder and that, you know, the devil's chord, as they call it, coming in, those notes, and this Ozzy's creepy voice coming in was just amazing. The Wizard is cool, bluesy song with, you know, where he plays harmonica on. The third track is kind of a medley, Wasp, Behind the Wall of Sleep, which is a great track, basically, and Into NIB, which, you know, stood for Nativity in Black, which is a, you know, fan favorite. Everyone loves that song. Wicked World, another dark, you know, dreary, creepy song. And then the last, the end of side two, excuse me, you know, another medley, Bit of Finger, Sleeping Village, Into Warning, and, you know, it's just amazing. It's just, every time I put it on, it's like I'm hearing it for the first time ever. And the album art is just so iconic. It's like, remember, this is 1970, like, Woodstock just happened. Of course, Altamont just happened, but psychedelia wasn't over yet. Singer-songwriters were all the rage. I mean, the Beatles were still together when this came out, even though they were going to break up a few months later. But it's just like, how? Like, how did you do this? And basically, the story is that the band was rehearsing across from a movie theater, and they saw when a horror movie was playing, the movie theater would just get packed, and they said, what if we make music that was, you know, kind of horror related? If people love to see the movies, maybe they'll love the music, and they do. And obviously, the title track, Black Sabbath, came from the horror movie called Black Sabbath, featuring Boris Karloff. So yeah, that's my ranking of Black Sabbath's studio albums. I'm going to go through them again. Number 1, self-titled debut. Number 2, the sophomore release, definitely not a sophomore slump, Paranoid. Number 3, first with Ronnie James Dio, Heaven and Hell. Number 4, the first Stoner album, Mystery of Reality. Number 5, the super heavy Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. A couple things I didn't point out. I think that's cool how they put the 666 on the headboard there. Where was I? Number 6, Sabotage, record label. Number 7, second with Ronnie James Dio, Mob Rules. Number 8, the Coke album, Volume 4. Number 9 with Ian Gillan and the awesome artwork, Born Again. Number 10, Technical Ecstasy with the robots. We don't know what they're doing. 11, first with Tony Martin, The Eternal Idol. Number 12, last album they would do at Ronnie James Dio as Black Sabbath, Dehumanizer. Number 13, lucky number 13, Never Say Die, with terrible artwork. Number 14, 7 Star. Number 15, Headless Cross. 16, Cross Purposes. Number 13, Tear. Final, last one, Forbidden. Everyone, thanks for watching. If you like this, subscribe. I've been wanting to do a Sabbath video for quite some time. And basically, I wanted to include all Sabbath studio albums, especially stuff with Tony Martin, because, you know, I think they deserve a lot of recognition. I think they're pretty decent. And a lot of people just know Black Sabbath is Ozzy. They don't even know about Dio. So go out there and, you know, listen to more stuff. You know, definitely listen to Heaven and Hell, Mob Rules. I definitely recommend them 2 albums. Listen to stuff with Ian Gillan, Born Again, and then, you know, dabble into Tony Martin, even the Glenn Hughes album. It's all great stuff. Thanks for watching, and I post a lot of my stuff on Instagram at Gary Delesiums, which is up there. If you want to check it out. Again, thanks for watching.